One.
Hello and welcome to the Poddy, episode 2. Your host for the evening, AJ Morris and George Osborne. Special guest for the evening, Jack Richardson.
Oh dear.
Actually, really good, you know. That's really good.
Yeah, fast.
Oh dear. Best intro ever, I think that. Then we're just going to have to record that and save it for future episodes.
Yeah.
Perfect. So, as you can tell, guys, we are back. We are joined by a lovely guest this evening in the form of Jack Richardson. So, we're going to just generally talk shop about where he's at and also take some listener questions for Jack as well. And I think we've got quite a bit to talk about because Jack and his sort of post-show phase and his next directions and things like that are pretty cool. He's got some really, really awesome goals that he wants to chase down. And I know you're going to be talking about things soon in your YouTube videos and things like that. But this is an opportunity as well, I guess, to sort of discuss where you're going to be heading because people are going to want to know by some point. And I think it's just a pretty fucking cool direction to be heading in. So I think first things first, Jack, for anyone that hasn't managed to cop on to your prep last year through following me or George, that either George being, beating on a side chest or
Definitely being in that most muscular.
Yeah, yeah, it was the most muscular, wasn't it? Either George being obliterated, or me posting up about you somewhere through the prep. Give the listeners a little bit of a background on you, sort of what you do, where you're from, and just a general bit about Jack Richardson, just a bit of a background on you, mate.
Yeah, sure. So I'm a bodybuilder from Stoke.
Mm-hmm.
This year, I competed as a junior in the natural competitions. I competed in BNBF and UK the FBA. I won the BNBF Midlands and the UK the FBA Northern, qualified for both Britishes, came third in the BNBF and second in the UK the FBA. And my experience prior to that was 3 years prior as a teen. That was my first season. I ended up just doing UK the FBA and winning the British for that and coming second. So this year was my second competitive season.
Sure. And outside of bodybuilding, what do you do? Do you work in Sainsbury's? Do you do a retail job? What do you do for a living?
Sainsbury's.
I don't know why I said that.
It's Tesco, man. It's Tesco.
Tesco.
Big up Tesco's.
We prack.
The best cookies.
The cookies.
Yeah. The Tesco
cookies.
Cookies. That's it. When I look at the cookbook on how to bake cookies. So what I do. So I'm an online coach. My coaching service is called Imperium. I do online coaching like you guys. And also I work in a gym called Apex, which is down Stoke as well. So I PT outside of there as well.
Sure. And still building up sort of a basis within online coaching, things like that.
Yeah.
Yeah, it's fantastic. So, yeah, awesome. I mean, I know that a lot of people would have probably hooked onto your journey when you were a teen. And we know that I think one of my own sort of excitement of following you was how hard you pushed up in off seasons. And it seems to be quite a common trend now within pretty successful young natural bodybuilders, like just the junior field, that they're all getting pretty heavy and pretty fluffy in their off seasons, really. They're not looking like an off season bodybuilder who's, very experienced. Like, they're not looking like Dave Kay in the off season, not looking like Nate Williams in the off season or anything like that. They're looking like, a little bit of a ball of fluff. And what do you think is the importance of those phases that you've been through? And do you think that all people should younger athletes especially be pushing that hard to gain the initial muscle mass?
I think there is merit to pushing up your weight, but also you need to be able to limit it as well. So you don't want to be eating infinite amount of food and just putting no cap on the scale weight and just getting as big as possible, because there is such thing as putting on too much weight and taking yourself too far from your competition stage weight and just making things hard for yourself. But there is definitely merit to push up your weight, and there's a lot of people who are afraid to eat and afraid to lose their abs and afraid to not be lean in the off season. And I find when I did it, I put on a lot of tissue. I did it initially when I got into training. I just spent, like, my first diet was for a prep, my first time cutting or anything like that. And I put on most of my tissue through that, just eating, having fun with training hard, training heavy as well. And I did it again, and I put on a lot more tissue. I brought a completely different physique from when I was a teen. Yeah, but it's like if you're going to be eating a lot of food, you also have to train really, really hard as well.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, for sure. And when you were in those push-up phases, the ones like before we started working together and we changed around your training a little bit, were you predominantly training on bro splits?
Yeah, I was.
What would a typical week look like for you?
It was sort of going to the gym. What do I fancy train today? I'll train back today. I'm feeling back. I'll go train back, and then I'll do whatever machines I'd like, really, with no sort of actual order, which is kind of mental now I think about it. But, there's no such thing as logbook in my world or anything like that. It was just, chest. I often did chest with shoulders, back. I did arms at the end of those days as well, and then a leg day. So it was pretty similar to a push-pull legs, but sometimes I did like shoulders on their own or arms and shoulders. Again, it was just going on what I felt like doing that day. It was more so spontaneously training.
Mm-hmm. I could never do that. I could never go to the, I know tomorrow, I need to know exactly what I'm doing tomorrow. Like tomorrow I'm squatting. I need to know that. Like the first thing I wake up, I know what I'm doing. If someone tells me I'm doing something different, I'm very much like, oh my God, like throws me off something else.
Oh yeah, absolutely.
Even like time of the day and stuff like that, I have to train at this particular time. And if I'm training an hour later, I'm like, oh my God, other stuff is going to be thrown out, and do I have to rush the session? And
yeah, absolutely.
I could never do that myself.
To be fair, since training the way I do now, I'm exactly the same. I couldn't go back to that. It seems absurd now to just think about doing that again. Even training without a logbook or without any sort of regulation in my training, it just doesn't compute with me now. But like back then, I was just, I don't know, I was just eating big tubs of pasta and just training whatever I felt like, and yeah, that's what I did.
Did you ever train without a logbook? Ever?
Is it
George?
Who's that?
You ever train
without me? Sorry.
Yeah.
I think I've got logbooks to date back to like 2015, 2014. I've gone through like a phase of doing it, but I've definitely been logging most of my stuff ever since I started training. I don't know why. I learned to kind of like people tell me, why not write it down on your phone? There's apps and stuff like that. I just appreciate having that logbook. When you get that fresh book and it's got all these it just looks clean and everything. I love a fresh book and just tracking all my data.
Who introduced me to logbooking? Because I'm trying to think of the moment where I saw someone logbook and thought, okay, I must do that. Because I don't remember. I think it may well have been one of my first bodybuilding coaches. Literally, I think I've only had two coaches. I've only ever had two coaches, and the first one that I had got me on like my first structured training program and told me that I needed to logbook. But before that, I think generally, like, I always had the goal of progressive overload. I didn't just go in and sort of think, okay, like do the same session or something. I always want, like,
Oh yeah,
I think for me
absolutely.
it was like getting to the end of the dumbbell rack at some of these commercial gyms. It was like, once I saw someone do the 50s, I was like, oh, okay, I want to do the 50s as well, kind of thing. So
Yeah,
progressive overload was
absolutely.
always ingrained there a little bit.
Yeah.
Yeah, I was sort of similar in that sense when I wasn't logging. It was like little milestones in terms of that. Like I just was focusing on increasing. It just wasn't regulated at all.
Yeah, yeah, for sure.
Jack, I've got a question. So I know I've stood next to you. I've had a most muscular with you, and you fucking belittled me. Like no, it's embarrassing. Like I look at that photo and it pisses me off. But other than like the basic stuff, of course, with eating food, progressive overload, in terms of what's been successful for you, what else is there apart from the bait? Like everyone needs to know that we need to eat, logbook your stuff, get progressively stronger. Like I've seen some of the stuff that you've done, especially incline dumbbell pressing stupid amounts. What else is the secret behind the identity that you have?
I think what it is consistency in those phases of doing that. Just staying, like I was fat for a long time. I was chubby for a long time. I was nice and fluffy. It wasn't like, oh, I was fluffy for a couple of months and I cut back down. It was like I spent a long time with that pushed up weight. It gave me the ability to get quite strong, those lifts.
Yeah.
Again, and I believe that I controlled the other variables as well, kept my stress nice and low. My sleep was pretty good. And I just think everything fell into place without me even needing to focus on it too much, especially like as a team, that all those things were there. Now thinking about it, now that I'm trying to sort of regulate it now, but all those things were there before without me even trying.
Yeah, for sure. Can we dive into your prep this year?
Yeah, sure.
I want to know, first of all, did you achieve what you wanted to achieve?
No, I didn't.
I think we all know that for sure.
Yeah.
Okay, so for anyone that didn't know, what was the goal for you?
So the goal for me was to win, at least one British this year and win the Worlds, probably the WNBF Worlds, win the UK the FBA, because I won the UK the FBA as a team, and it was just like, right, okay, I'll have this time away from stage, and I'll repeat what I did as a junior, and hopefully take the Worlds as well. So it was just sort of reiterated to me as well, quite a few times. Like, it's like, oh yeah, you're going to win the world. Like, British not even mentioned. I was like, well, I've got
a lot of pressure on you.
Yeah, I've got to go for the British first. And it was just, I don't know, it was sort of ingrained into my head. That was the thing that was going to happen.
And kind of, I know a lot of the time, like, I know AJ was very much like, we're going to win. Did you ever think about what happened if you didn't? Of course, this year it didn't go how it planned. Did you expect that, or was you kind of, from what you've seen this year already, you was like, right, this is mine for the taking? And what was your mindset kind of like? Because I know we spoke quite deeply after you got on stage at the finals, and I could see in your face you was very disheartened. So how did you deal with not winning this year?
So essentially, like, there was no second option for me. There wasn't a choice of losing in my head. I put all my eggs in the basket of winning, and like even Molly, my girlfriend, she was worried. She was saying to my friend, she was like, "What if he doesn't win?" Like, because she knew how much this meant to me. So going into it, I had a pretty unhealthy mindset going into it as well. Just telling myself, looking back now, it's very stupid, but it's like, if I don't win, I'm not going to be, worthy. I'm not going to be a good bodybuilder, or I'm not going to be worthy of actually getting a pro. I won't be able to be good enough to be pro standard. So when I came off stage, I was absolutely gutted. I was heartbroken because it was just a shock. It was just a shock more than anything. When you promise something to yourself, whatever that may be, anything, and you don't get it, then you're gonna have that shock. So I spent a few days sulking about it, but I think the thing for me was the perspective that I had. Perspective's key. So you need to think about the perspective of that situation. So one of the perspectives was I got told multiple times that this was one of the toughest junior lineups they've had this year. And any other year, I might have won. I walked away as a British champion. Another perspective is, think about, what I've gained through this year, not what I haven't gained. And it was just implementing these thoughts that just made me think, okay, I've still had success this season. Because before that, it was like, right, I have failed this season. This whole season is a failure. So that was my initial thought. And it was like just sitting back and actually putting things in perspective that just made things a lot better for dealing with it. I think
go ahead, Jack.
I think it's better as well to lose, because I watched the podcast that you guys did last, and George, you mentioned that not winning the shows created like a sort of fire to just improve, go into the gym and improve, and it's a similar thing for me. Like I'm hitting those sessions, I've just got it in my head now. I've got to improve.
Yeah, sure. I was very much like that this year as well. Like my motivation's never been high. Like I don't need to get motivated. It's just there. Like seeing what I was looking like this year, it's just there. Like I look at that photo with me and you, and just look how far behind I am compared to yourself, and that's all the motivation I need. I'm sure you're very much the same with kind of not getting what you wanted this year. For sure.
Yeah, for sure, man.
I think just to add on the sort of preparation for not winning aspect of things, I think after the qualifiers, I started to drip feed it a little bit that the competition was going to be a lot harder. We started to talk like a lot more about the finals than we talked about before. Like obviously the goal when we started was just to win everything. And I knew that was, in my eyes, given the previous standards, more than possible. And to be fair, we kind of proved that it was more than possible because we had some judges go your way at the finals. It just so happened that it was a incredibly tough year for junior competitors. And you probably chose one of the hardest ones, if not the hardest ones in the recent decade to get up there. And I think from a coaching perspective, it's a hard one to balance because you don't want to start telling your athlete that you might come second because it shows almost a bit of disbelief that you might not do it. So I always wanted to err on the side of caution with that. And I wanted to drill into you that the chances are that you would almost definitely win. You know what I mean? And it's very, very difficult. And then obviously when, talking to Polly at the show, like she'd expressed her worry about you not winning and what you were going to do after. And I knew you'd go fucking insane. So I didn't need to be told by Molly that you were going to go insane because I knew exactly what it's like to be in that position. And I would have lost my hat as well if I hadn't have won. So I already put that emotion in my head because you have that emotion in your head already when you're standing there waiting for the results. You know what it's going to feel like if you don't get it. So, and that's, and I think, I had that at the BNBF version of the juniors. Like I really wanted to win that. I really wanted to beat TAF, but, I didn't. And it's a bit of a bitter blow, but like both of you guys said, I very much agree that when you don't get exactly what you want, the difference between us and a lot of other people is that not getting what we want means we work harder, and a lot of other people don't get what they want and turn it in basically and give up. That is a large majority of some bodybuilders as well. They think, fuck, I haven't won it. Not good enough, not got good enough genetics, not good enough that, not good enough this. And I think the mindset to improve based on a performance or a result you didn't want is what's going to take you very far.
Yeah, absolutely. And I was leading myself up for that sort of mindset, saying if I don't win, I'm not made for bodybuilding, or I'm not made to be going far in this sport. And that's very unhealthy. And looking back now to do that, I wouldn't recommend anyone sort of setting yourself up for failure. I just wouldn't recommend anyone doing that.
Yeah, for sure. So sticking on this topic, I'll go with the next sort of direction, next question. So coming away from the UK FBA, obviously, you had time for your thoughts to settle, and we'd already talked in the car, the rental car, rushing our way to the airport on the way back from Edinburgh, from Scotland, about what you wanted to do next. So I think it's important that, when you disclose what your plans are next, is that your plans weren't a reaction to the loss. Your plans were already set in stone prior to that happening. Like, if you'd have won the UK FBA, and what the fuck is George doing? And
the dog, you can do that squeaking, can't you?
Yeah.
It's the dog decides to play with his toy snake. The media, like, he hasn't played with it all day. But as soon as I start a podcast and recording, he starts. So I'm confiscating it.
I can just see it.
Yeah,
in the background.
I'm trying to silently make him stop, but so I'm just confiscating it.
Doggy.
Okay.
Always get interrupted.
So back on the topic. Yes, what I was saying is essentially, like, your plans were already there before you even got that result. If you'd have gone to the Worlds, the plans would have still been very similar. They wouldn't have changed at all. So essentially what listeners want to know is, like, sort of what's next, and what is your sort of ultimate goal within bodybuilding. And after that, sort of, after this season, what have you moved on to now, and where are your goals headed? So just run them through it.
Yeah, so what's next? This has been in consideration from when I stepped off stage as a teen. And this has been something I've considered and contemplated. And I thought, right, I'll do one more season as a junior and we'll see how we do then. And, see if I still enjoyed the process before I make this decision. And the decision is to go and attempt for an IFBB Pro card in the classic physique. And the reason behind that is just because I find myself literally fascinated by that class. Like, I'm watching it at the Olympia. I've constantly watched this year's Olympia. I watched the Open, and I don't know, it just sort of put me off. I wasn't as blown away as I was with the classic physique. I just looked at those physiques and thought, okay, that's approach the off-season to gain as much tissue as needed to get within that class. So whether that be 1 year off or 2 years off, I'm going to gain as much tissue as needed to have a pro-worthy physique. So for the height to weight limit, I put in the 5'8" to 5'9" category. So that would give me a limit of 190 pounds. So if I was to, I competed at around about 170 pounds this year. So if I was to compete in the exact same condition, I would need at least 20 pounds of lean muscle to add onto the frame. So that is essentially the goal, but adding it onto the right places, essentially. So with the plan, obviously written by yourself, we're prioritizing weaker body parts like the back, and, putting in compounds like deadlifts and things like that, and reintroducing them to get a balanced physique.
Yeah, cool. So I think for a lot of listeners, I think perhaps they'd have already made an assumption that was maybe the route you were going to head, because you have got, and my perspective on this, and I was talking about this with one of my clients the other day, is like, I fully understand why someone wants to go down that route based on the fact that they've got potential to do well down that route. And I think we're all agreed here that you have very good potential down that route.
Appreciate that.
Because at the end of the day, it is about how you respond to a weight training stimulus. And you've shown already that even with injuries and, subpar training splits, going in training by feel, you've built a fuckload of tissue. and some of the time, your execution's been not there, and that's why you've accumulated niggles, and
yeah, absolutely.
To still build the amount of muscle you have with that approach is outstanding, So to now have focus on nailing execution, obviously being smart with food increments, and also being smart with the way that you use assistance, it's only going to add up to something pretty fucking cool, in my opinion. So,
yeah, man, absolutely. Like, I don't think I've ever been in a stage where I've been this optimal in terms of having the right training split, having the right nutrition protocols, having, like, I'm able to online coach now. So I don't have a very stressful job, whereas I used to work nights, back doors and things like that. And obviously obviously the assistant as well as PEDs. These are all things coming into play, which are making me quite optimistic, quite eager for the off season ahead. Yeah, man.
George, you got any questions on that?
Not really. No, I haven't. I think you summed that bit up quite well in terms of what you need to do. It just requires a little bit of time and patience to do so. I kind of wanted to talk about, there was a few things I wanted to dive into your prep, but I just wanted to dive into also your post show kind of rebound. I know based upon your updates, you're like, what, 202 pounds, something like that, I saw?
Yeah, I was 205 today.
205, so that's what, about...
That's about where my off season ended, to be fair, which is crazy.
Yeah.
So you're roughly, what, like 35 pounds up? I know that you had a few lows at like 167 during the prep and stuff like that. So maybe 38 sort of. Do you think your rebound, could you have done that better? Are you kind of happy with what you've done so far? Or is it a case of where you kind of almost let yourself go a little bit? Because that's what I've seen in the past couple of weeks in terms of like your Instagram stories, having cookies and stuff like that. Is that something which you're
naughty
like
bastard
happy with, or something which you can't? Because what I found is that having a relationship, don't get me wrong, it's great, but it doesn't help with going out more often, eating the foods, and kind of not knowing when to stop. Like my relationship with food got quite bad quite quickly, and I didn't know when to stop. So are you happy with what you've done, or is it a case of you've kind of maybe gone a little bit crazy and you need to rein it in a little bit? Because you still look great, don't get me wrong.
I appreciate the question. I suppose, I could have been more controlled. I could have been, stuck to the exact macros that were set out for me for the weeks after my show. But then again, it's having that balance of owing that time to Molly, who's just sacrificed going out for meals and things like that. So I've gone out with her. I've also done 10,000 calorie challenges and things like that. And do you know what? I've had a good time, and what I'm comparing it more so to is the approach that I had last season, which was no self-control whatsoever and gaining like 20 pounds in 4 days. That type of just eating loads of shit. And in comparison to that, I've done a lot better. But yeah, I suppose I could have done better in the sense where I've adhered more. Like I have gone out for meals and I'm like, right, okay, I'm out for a meal. Let's eat as much as possible. And it's just trying to find that balance, because after a show, you're like, right, I have freedom now. I've eaten, but you don't have freedom. And I think that's what's important to know. If you have freedom over what you eat with that appetite that you have post show, then you become a fat bastard very, very quickly. So I'm sort of been floating in between that. I haven't gone completely out of control, but I haven't been completely adherent, I must admit. But yeah, the answer to your question is, I probably could have done it better, but all's not lost.
I think also the amount of weight gain seems almost more shocking than it actually is, because you obviously got to counter or put into the circumstances that you've gone assisted, and
Yeah, I think that's helped a lot.
Quite a lot of body water shifting around due to that. So there's even so to put it into perspective, I've seen even with clients that have gone on to testosterone replacement therapy dosage, which is a lot lower than what Jack's using, and they've accumulated a lot of body water, and that skewed the scale weight significantly. And you can even tell in your look, like a lot of the weight, well, not a lot of the weight, but a decent amount of some of the body weight you've gained is fluid retention, because your face is watery as fuck.
I came off prep, the most recent. I've got by far the fattest face on this podcast. How crazy is that?
I know you have.
I literally, my head just rolled onto screen. That fat. Yeah, but my face doesn't sort of correspond to how the rest of me is looking. I'm not saying I'm lean as fuck from the neck below, but I'm not this. So, but apparently that is a very common thing for when you do go assisted, your face just balloons up. Trust me, I got told every day when I'm working at the gym, like, wow, your face is fat. I'm like, yeah, you're the 10th person today to tell me that.
Well, at least with that kind of frequency, you get used to it. It's not really like oh, no, not my face. It's like, oh, that.
Oh, yeah.
It is. Yeah, so.
Go for it.
Besides like, dealing with the foods and the influence of being around Molly and things like that, psychologically, do you think that this has been one of your best sort of post-show phases, or in comparison to the teenage one? Do you think you've been less upset about how you've been looking and you've been more excited about the bodybuilding journey itself?
Yeah, absolutely. Because when I was a teenager, I got that fat. I had to diet down so I could gain properly. So it's a lot better. But yeah, this time round, I've just sort of focused, and any weight gained has helped. Honestly, has helped with performance in the gym. So I'm just very, very eager to just now just crack the fuck on in the gym.
Yeah, sure.
Whereas before it was, I had post-show blues quite bad. I think the first time is always the hardest, the first season, because you're like, what the fuck do I do now? And you're like, how do I control what I'm feeling now? Whereas I sort of expected what's to come. It actually made me a little bit anxious because I was like, wow, it was really bad last time. I hope it's not as bad. But I think this time round, because we had exact goals in place and we had things put in place pretty much straight away, it gave me something new to focus on. So it wasn't like I was left in limbo and just eating my face off.
Sure.
Yeah. I just wanted to end with kind of, what was your highlight of prep this year? Just what was one of the highlights?
Meeting you, George.
Do you know what?
Wiping shit over you on the Most Muscular.
It was, to be fair, it was meeting people and just conversing with like-minded people and just being back in the scene again. I just loved being in the environment, being backstage, just being a bodybuilder again. I just loved experiencing it. Even the shit parts of prep, I loved suffering in prep. I loved, feeling like shit, feeling hungry. I'm like, shit, I have missed this, but I haven't. But I have. Like, just even meeting you this year, mate. Like, it was great. Yeah. It was great because you gain a lot of perspective when you speak to people about their prep and how they found it, and I think it's really cool to be able to do that.
I think
one thing which you wanted to change.
Go for it. Answer this question.
One thing which you want to change from your prep this year, lean into your next one?
Coach.
Yeah, definitely. Yeah.
No.
I'm not too sure. Like, I think with me being assisted now, I'll probably be able to get away with a shorter prep. And I don't know, maybe it's very, very tricky because a lot of variables will be different next time round. So it would be very easy to say, oh yeah, I want to start very lean so I can get in and with a short prep so I can be really peeled and all this. But it all depends on, you know, what the setup's like. So this year I think went pretty perfect. I can't imagine doing a better job myself, or, you know, in a different way, to be fair.
I think in hindsight, I have two things that I would have changed if I was you. So
Okay.
I wouldn't have been having niggles and injuries. Bear in mind.
Yeah, well, true.
This is the thing. You never mention this massively online because you're just not the type of guy to complain. Like, your whole thing is hashtag too fucking easy, which I think is awesome and something that I'm really going to try and harness in my prep. I'm going to keep trying to, you know, remind myself that certain phases I can just bolster through with mindset. You know, because I think that was one of the things you were very, very strong at. Something that I actually took from your prep massively was that mindset of you know, pushing yourself and making it seem like harder phases are actually easy. So yeah, I wouldn't have had the niggles because you basically trained the majority of your prep with 0 presses, and all of your chest and shoulder training was cuff laterals and cuff flies. Jack went into the gym and did fucking 5 to 7, 8 sets of flies and cuff laterals for his push sessions. Like, I don't know how you fucking did that, man. Like, because I mean, I'm pretty sure George would be the same. Like, I'd go insane if I had to do this kind of sessions. Like, when I was programming you those sessions, I was like, fuck me. Like, I don't like doing, I barely like those movements in a normal push session, let alone them being my only movements.
Oh yeah, yeah.
Your mindset towards that was pretty epic. So I'd have prepped without any injuries, and the second one I'd have prepped without fucking moving house at the most pivotal point.
Yeah. I forgot about that. Yeah, that was terrible. That was pretty stressful, to be fair.
We not only did your steps hit cataclysmic levels on a few days where they shouldn't have, and caused you to accumulate George Osborne levels of diet fatigue. You know, getting a faded look.
I almost had a breakdown. I swear to God, I was that exhausted.
Looking like George. Oh dear. No, but seriously, I might use that with clients next year. I'm like, you're starting to fade. You're doing a George. Stop. But yeah, so, and that wasn't only an issue with the steps and the energy expenditure and the stress of moving your shit. I know Molly did loads for you, but still you had to, you know, walk and do some stuff. But it was the lighting that was the main issue. Like, your lighting went from shit hot to horrendously fucking awful.
Terrible. Still can't nail it now.
No, can't nail it now. It's still awful. So all of Jack's definitely like at least 10 pounds leaner in person.
Yeah. Literally, it's this house just makes me look fat as fuck, man.
Even on the webcam. You'd have been better in the previous house on the webcam.
Yeah, literally. I'm actually still stage lean, man.
Yeah. So those are two things I would have changed. The rest of the prep was pretty fucking good.
Yeah.
So
I agree, man.
I have a more sort of comedic question. I have a comical question and route to go down next. So we'll move away from some serious shit for a little bit. So over the course of getting to know you, I've realised that you attract some pretty weird individuals, Jack. So
no.
Can you explain to us sort of, not like some of your experiences with sort of just getting into weird situations with weird people, maybe the most recent one, and then the ones like, maybe if you're willing to share, the ones where you got picked up by random people, and Why do you think this is happening to you, man?
I don't. Fuck. Fuck. I don't. Oh man, I'm just. Fuck's sake. I just get weird shit all the time. Weird shit, and it's like it always starts off the same. You know, people have a nice, pleasant conversation, and then it just gets weird. Yeah, honestly, but I can't ignore people because I'm like, oh, I'm scared that you're a pedo. You know what I mean? I can't ignore everyone I speak to, so I'm like, right, I'll give this guy a chance. No, he's a fucking pedo again. It's that's how it turns out. Honestly, like I'm having people send shit to me now. Send shit. Like I've got like cutlery from people.
Got a spoon off this photographer.
Yeah, which is great. Like. It says Breakfast of Champions on, so it makes me feel like I am a champ. I did win a British.
Really laced it with your hip.
Yeah, man. So I passed out a few times, but it's fine. Like, I remember waiting for the bus one day, and this guy, bus was pretty late, and this guy was like, oh, where you heading? I'm like, oh, Apex Gym. And he was like, do you want to left? I'm going that way. I'm like, okay. So I get into the car and he was like, so, you know, you're into fitness and that because you're working at a gym. Yeah. I was like, yeah. I'm actually doing a prep at the moment. He was like, how would you like to earn £20 for 5 minutes? Oh, no. Basically, he just wanted me to touch penis. And I was trapped in the car with him. I was looking at Google Maps, like, how long of this journey have I got left? Should I time to stop the car or should I just blag it and just ride this one out?
Ride it.
So, yeah. Just ride it. I actually got offered. Someone was like, would you like to be in my comic book? My porno comic book? And I was like, do you know what? That'd be pretty cool. Yeah. Like, have you ever... because he showed me a picture. This guy had a penis over his shoulder. Like a penis that big, he was carrying it over his shoulder. I was like, shit, I would like to see myself as that guy. If you could do that, that's it. For free, go on. It's like, okay, all I need is a picture of your penis. I was like, no. It's like, I need it so I can draw off it. I'm like, you cannot tell me that was to scale. The picture that you showed me with a penis over your shoulder, that was not to scale. Someone didn't send you a picture with a penis over the shoulder.
Scale.
I've been asked like, oh, pictures of your feet. Can I have pictures of your feet? I just send them to mates.
I think you need to just focus on identifying these people and blocking them before they engage in these conversations. Don't get picked up by anyone. And
but I asked my other bodybuilder friends. They don't get this, so I don't know what about me says I'm
ready.
What's the word now?
Open and lubed.
Open and ready, like molestable. I don't know. Do I have one of those faces?
I think you do. I think you do.
You have a face of someone innocent. Yeah. Very welcome. Innocent. Harmless.
Round at the moment.
Round, yeah.
George, do you have any of your own questions?
I think I've covered what I've wanted to cover.
Cool.
Should we go into some listener questions?
I've got some listener questions, yeah. Am I the only one with listener questions here?
Yeah.
All right.
I don't think I have any.
So I'll ask myself. Doing that thing where it fucking just brings you straight off the questions as soon as you go on them.
Fucking hell. I'm that fast I can't scratch my own back anymore. I'm gonna have to buy myself a back stretcher.
My client Ben Croxford asks, why were you the only one who looked so happy being on stage? You had such fun with your routine.
Your routines were brilliant.
Oh, thanks, man. I think what it is people don't know how to, or they haven't grasped the ability to be in the moment. That that point, and it's like the nerves get the better of him, and they're that concentrated on not fucking up or whatever. And whereas me, I could just prance around in my pants because one, I've practiced that much with my posing. I've done a few shows before. I know that the time on stage is so rare and so precious. You just got to appreciate whilst you're on, and a lot of competitors don't have that perspective. And then once they come off, like, oh shit, that was a short time on stage. I think once you do a few shows or a few seasons or whatever, that's why you see a lot of pros. They're just, it looks like second nature to them. They don't really have, they can enjoy themselves and let themselves go because they're used to all the process. But for a lot of amateurs, it's very new to them, especially junior bodybuilders. It's very, very new concept to them. So I think that was the main reason why.
Yeah, 100%.
Yeah, agree. I wish I enjoyed my when I was on stage, because you went so quick and you worked so hard to display your physique that I think I came off as like, fuck, I wish I'd spend a little bit more time kind of showing off what I worked hard for, even though it wasn't a winnable physique. It was just something that I should have been a little bit more proud of.
Absolutely, but I think this is the perspective that you get. I think what didn't help you was me twatting you around the head with a trophy before you went on stage.
Yeah. That actually really hurt. I was doing press ups on the floor, and it's really dark backstage. Of course, like this was just like next to the stage, like ready to just go on. Yeah, at a show, and I was competing. I think that was the Northerns, wasn't it?
Oh, it was
I think it was the Midlands.
Midlands.
BNBF.
Yeah, I think it was.
Yeah.
And I was doing press ups on the floor, and I was about to get up, and then Jack didn't see me there on the floor because I was in like a little bit on my own, just trying to focus, and trophy just went whack straight in my head, and I was like, I saw stars. I was dazed. I was like, wow, I was nearly cried. It was painful.
Bear in mind, I've only just met this guy on this day. I was like, I'm so sorry. I'm so sorry. I'm so sorry. Please. I am so sorry.
I was like, yeah, it's all right. I was like, fucking that.
I was like, I could tell he's like, all right, because he's like, yeah, it's all right.
Yeah, but in those situations, you got to be like hard, innit? You're like, yeah, I'm all right. And fucking afterwards, I was like,
yeah, do it again, man. It was nothing.
Yeah.
Cool. Good. Muscle Monster Hull. He asks, what irritates Jim today?
What irritates
you in the gym today? What irritates you, Jack, in the gym?
What irritates me? Well, I think on prep the most was when people just coming up to me and just waffling shit. Like when you're in prep, you're just trying to source every ounce of energy into your set, and someone comes up, it's like, I'm gonna have some fucking bacon tonight, man. Oh yes. I'm like, fuck off. Or they're telling me the same shit like every day. Like, oh yeah, I've just recently started doing this split on my arms, man. Yeah. And you've told me that the 5th time, every time you've been in. And like, I just can't. I don't have the energy to even, I'm not being a dick. I just don't want you to speak to me at this current moment of time. Speak to me after or before. I think that was the main thing that irritated me in prep, but at the gym. But now I'm a lot more happy-go-lucky, so I'll sit and listen to some shit stories as long as it isn't too long in the gym.
Yeah, I'm agreeing with that. I think especially when, I know you train in like strength and apex and things like that, but you still sometimes in those gyms get people that don't really understand the bodybuilding goal. And when I was prepping out of like underground, it was just a nightmare. Like the amount of just like so awful waste of time conversations that I had with people that I actually quite liked, but I ended up because it's just like I've had this conversation about a million times, man. Like when you're competing, you're doing the UK BFF South Coast.
Yeah. You have your own script, don't you?
Yeah.
You're just like, yep. These are the answers. I've answered this 10 times today in this session.
Very frustrating. Shit, lost the questions again. So someone asked, I mean, it's quite a generic question, but they say his name is Babis. It just says 0 cardio in the off season, question mark. Steps around 10 to 11K per day. So I'm guessing what he's asking is whether it's okay to not do cardio, but you have a reason for doing cardio, don't you, Jack? So
Absolutely, yeah. I think there's a case for anyone to do cardio in the off season.
Agreed.
To be fair, like whether you're assisted or not, but why not look after your heart?
Yeah.
Why not keep yourself nice and fit so you're not gassed out in your sets? But yeah, the cardio that I'm doing at the moment is 2 lots of 35 minutes, medium intensity steady state. I'm doing that on the Stairmaster. At the moment, I'm just trying to maintain my fitness whilst the weight does plummet up. So I'm just trying to hold on to any bit of fitness that I do have. And steps are around about 10,000. But sometimes I do go over.
Very nice. Very good. I think you're right. I think everyone needs some CV. I think I've seen even changes in my own blood pressure when I don't do CV and I'm not assisted. So, I think especially when you're at the peak end of your body weight sort of set point and you're pretty heavy, keeping some cardiovascular health is probably a good thing because you will start to, when you're putting in a lot of food, when you're stressing out your body under, maximum loading in the gym because you're at your peak strength. That's the time where you're going to start seeing, ramps in blood pressure and things like that. So, and blood pressure is probably one of the most basic things you can do to monitor your health. So, only took you about 45 months to get the monitor.
I've got it now.
Yes, I know. We've got it now. We're keeping you alive now, which is good. So yeah, other than that, I think the questions are pretty shite, to be honest. Actually, no. What's that, mate?
I was going to say with cardio, at the moment, I kind of auto-regulate mine. So
yeah,
I make sure I sometimes do it twice a week. I sometimes do it once a week. And if I'm absolutely bad, I won't do it at all. At the end of the day, I think right now, is that cardio going to build me muscle? Is it going to help turn my performance better in my next session? If it's not, then I'm not going to do it. Like I pulled my hamstring the other day on the fucking abductor, and on Sunday I just said, you know what, I'm not going to do it. I'm going to rest up my hamstring.
Course, yeah.
Sensible things like that. My hamstring feels fine now.
How do you pull your hamstring on the adductor?
Oh, basically, when with the adductor, when you kind of push it out and it kind of clicks into place. Well, obviously it didn't click into place properly, and I obviously moved the weight in because kind of when you have to kind of just move your hands in to get the weight comfortable.
Yeah, get it shifted.
Yeah, and it wasn't in place, and it just moved and just went ping on my hamstring. I was limping around for the whole entire day afterwards. I was like, babe, I can't train, I can't do this. But luckily now it's much better. Stupid things like that, it pissed me off. That did.
Picking some fibers.
Yeah, as JP would say.
Get some clangle on that side. Caitlin actually asked a good question. Caitlin Hill, the Natty figure monster. She asks, would I have entered you into an open bodybuilding class last year? So, I mean, I guess that's more of a question directed at me, but what would your opinion have been on if I said, oh, come on, Jack, let's do, the middleweights, or, well, you would have been a middleweight, wouldn't you? So what would your opinion on that would have been? I know what mine is, but what's yours?
I'd have loved that. I would have loved that just to see where I stood. I mean, that's something you did in one of your qualifiers. You went into lightweights and, you got second against a really, really competitive guy. I think that gave you the perspective in this season. Well, your next season, if I have this off season, then there is a place for me in the lightweights. I believe that would have had a similar sort of effect on myself. It's like, okay, I probably wouldn't have expected to win, especially with the standard of the middles this year. But if I had have placed quite nicely, it probably would have made me feel good. But I wouldn't have been expected to win. But it's nice to see where I would have stood in the middle class.
Yeah, I think if you'd have been able to cross over at one of the shows, I would have definitely done it. But considering the fact that we knew you were definitely going to do both finals, and the goal was in the back of our minds to potentially do Worlds in November. Like, from a coaching standpoint, I wanted to hold as much ammunition in the tank as possible. Whereas, conversely, with someone like George, I know that George's next goal is to compete in the lightweights because he would have been out of the juniors, and I knew he wanted to stay natural and do another season naturally. And also, we kind of, by the first couple of shows, had it in the back of our head that we probably weren't going to do finals. So with that in mind, we could rack in some more qualifiers. Hence why, George got on stage quite a bit. Obviously, again, first time competitor, the more you do shows, the more confidence you build, the more mistakes you make, the more lessons you learn. Like, we learned lessons with Tan, didn't we, mate? Learned lessons with food options, learned lessons with the bloat, the midsection. Like, doing more shows was very beneficial. I think, to be honest, it may even have helped you to do another show or two, because we might have found that sort of peak that required a little bit more food a little bit earlier. Because I think for the BNBF, you still were maybe a little bit undercarbed for that one. Probably wouldn't have changed the result massively, unfortunately. And then the UKDFBA, we kind of caught up with ourselves a little bit and managed to push the food harder. And I think that definitely did pay off. But yeah, you just came up for that one. You came up against someone who was just massively improved, unfortunately. But yeah, that's that.
Yeah, no, I agree.
Mm.
Did you have any other questions, or are they all just shite?
Pretty rubbish, to be honest.
Shite.
A lot of them are hi at AJ Morris _.
Yeah, I've been getting that lately. What's that about?
Do you want to connect? Do you want to connect?
Anal connection.
Anal connection, erection, perfection.
Sounds like yes. DM slide in. I think that's about it. That's about it, to be honest, isn't it, really? Unless there's anything else we want to really discuss. Obviously, like, coaching wise, both of you guys are, building up your coaching brands and things like that. So if anyone who is listening to this podcast wants a very good cracking coach, then head the way of one of these guys, because they'll do a fantastic job. And I know you both put a lot of fucking time into what you do. And that's the main thing, to be honest. Like, we'll all make, mistakes, and we'll all level up in terms of knowledge as coaches. But the main thing, in my opinion, in terms of what drives a good coach, is how much time, effort, and care you put into what you do.
Absolutely, yeah. I agree, because you can have coaches that know a lot of shit and don't give the time to the clients. So that knowledge is pretty useless, really, because they're not really utilising that and pointing it into their coaching.
Yeah.
So
I agree with that.
And for the listeners, Jack, like, in your head, when do you see yourself getting back on stage? Like, when would you like to try and vie for that classic pro card? What year do you think that will happen realistically?
I don't think it's viable next year. Although I do like to, I like competing, so I would like to. So 2021, maybe at the earliest. But if I'm not ready, then it would be probably 2022. But 2021, we're going to try to aim for that.
I'm in agreement with that, to be honest. I think you'll know. I think with the pictures, you'll know massively whether you're ready or not, because the changes you're going to see over the next 6 months are going to be pretty ridiculous. So, we've seen, even with some, like Bridgman, who's obviously aiming for more of the physique level of muscularity, even with the changes he's made in such a relatively short period of time, is pretty phenomenal. Something that would probably happen next year is doing some form of diet to get you resensitized, and then do another phase of pushing with maybe some extra goodies added in, and then get another sort of phase of really, pushing the limiter, and then looking to see whether that gets you into where you need to be, and then look at a prep. But yeah,
absolutely, I agree with that.
It's gonna be cool. It's going to be cool. And just for the listeners as well, before they think I'm handling any of the assistants, I'm not. So Jack's working with professionals in that area as well. So people that we trust, people that we know are going to take care of things and have an educated opinion, both like research and anecdotally backed. So I'm not doing any of that. I'm just here as the same coach I was beforehand. But I think it works well that I'm still around and that I can still monitor training and nutrition.
Yeah, Danny's handling my courses, isn't she?
Jack's just read a few pub meds and he's like, it's all new. New cookies. All right, cool. We'll end it here, I think.
Yeah,
Yeah,
man.
for sure.
Great. Awesome. It's been
All
a
right, guys.
pleasure.
Well, thank you very much for tuning in. We'll look forward to next episode where it'll probably be myself and George back again, and the rotation of podcast will probably be me and George on, me and George off, and a guest, and then just rotate, and we'll see who we can get on next time. If you have any requests for who you want to see, just drop it in the comment box on YouTube or message one of us on Instagram and DM, and we'll try and get them on unless they're too famous and they don't want to chat to two little skinny naturals. So we'll try and make do. Jack was pretty hard to get on, to be fair. So
yeah, well, you know, I cleared my diary, and obviously there was a hefty bribe, and since going into the pro leagues,
the price is just going up and up and up.
Yeah, man. Professional eater at the moment.
Yeah. All right, guys. Thanks for listening. Good night. Good morning. Bye.
See you later.